When 5-year-old Emma rode her tricycle in the driveway, she never thought it could almost get her killed. Karen Mitchell, the mean HOA boss, had sent 3 angry letters about this, but tonight she brought something way scarier, a real gun and years of built-up anger. Before watching the full story, tell us where you're watching from and hit like and subscribe. The sun was going down over Maplewood Lane, making the sky bright orange and pink. It was one of those perfect fall evenings in our small neighborhood. My 5-year-old daughter Emma was riding her bright red tricycle in our driveway. Her happy giggles filled the cool evening air. Her blonde curls bounced with each push of the pedals. She was wearing her favorite purple dress with rainbow stripes. I stood on our front porch holding a hot cup of coffee. I watched Emma with pure happiness. She was my whole world. My little sunshine who could make even the worst days better with her innocent laugh and endless questions about everything. The neighborhood looked like the perfect American suburb. Nice houses lined both sides of the tree-covered street. Mrs. Henderson was watering her rose garden next door, waving at Emma. The Johnsons were grilling something that smelled really good. It was the kind of evening that made you feel thankful for life's simple pleasures. But then, like a dark cloud suddenly covering the sun, I heard it. A sharp, angry voice cutting through the peaceful evening like a knife. It was Karen Mitchell, the HOA president, storming across the street looking furious. Her face was bright red, her gray hair pulled back tight, making her look permanently angry. Karen Mitchell was a woman who lived and breathed rules. In the 3 years since she became HOA president, she turned our peaceful neighborhood into an army base. No music after 8 p.m., no kids' toys visible from the street, no parking on grass, no fence fixes without written permission. She'd sent violation letters to everyone for tiny rule breaking. This month alone, I'd gotten 3 official letters about Emma's tricycle cluttering the driveway. Each letter was meaner than the last, with bigger fines. I'd ignored them all. It was just a kid's tricycle. Emma was 5 years old and deserved to play in her own driveway. "Tom, I told you to keep that thing in the garage," Karen yelled. Her voice was so loud that neighbors stopped and stared. Her finger pointed at Emma's tricycle like it was a dangerous weapon. Emma immediately stopped pedaling, confusion all over her sweet face. "Karen, it's just a tricycle. She's playing. It's not hurting anyone," I said, stepping off the porch. I kept my voice calm, though I could feel anger building. "Not hurting anyone?" Karen snapped, her voice almost a scream. "It's an eyesore. This neighborhood has standards. You're ruining property values for everyone." She walked into our driveway without being invited. Her finger jabbed angrily at the air, and I could see veins bulging in her neck. Emma shrank back on her tricycle, gripping the handlebars so tight her knuckles turned white. Her happiness was replaced by confusion and fear. "Karen, she's 5 years old. Let it go," I said firmer, putting a protective hand on Emma's shoulder. I could feel her small body shaking. "There are real problems in the world. This isn't one of them." But Karen wasn't done. Her eyes had gotten a wild, crazy look. Her face was purple with rage. She reached into her big purse with shaking hands, and my blood turned to ice when I saw metal, a gun, a small chrome pistol in her trembling grip. "Karen, what are you doing?" I yelled, stepping fully in front of Emma. My heart pounded so hard I thought it might burst. This couldn't be happening. People didn't pull guns over kids' toys. "Put that down right now!" "You think you can ignore me?" Karen screamed. "You think the rules don't apply to you? I run this neighborhood. You don't get to break my rules." Her whole body was shaking, the gun moving dangerously. "Put the gun down!" I shouted, raising both hands while trying to shield Emma. Behind me, I could hear Emma whimpering, "Daddy, Daddy, what's happening?" The sound of my daughter's scared voice will haunt me forever. Before I could react, a deafening bang split the evening air. The sound echoed off the houses, shaking through my bones. Pain exploded through my left shoulder like liquid fire. I stumbled backward, vision getting blurry, but my shoulder pain was nothing compared to what came next. A scream so filled with pain and terror that it tore something inside my chest. I spun around and my heart shattered at what I saw. Emma was On the ground beside her flipped tricycle, holding her right leg with both hands. Blood was seeping through her purple dress, spreading in a dark stain. Her face was chalk white except for tears streaming down her cheeks. Emma. I dropped too, my knees beside her. It hurts, Daddy, she whispered between sobs. It hurts so much. Behind us, Karen stood frozen, the smoking gun still in her hand. Her mouth hung open in shock. The neighborhood exploded into chaos. Doors slammed open as neighbors ran out, some screaming, others shouting questions. I pressed my hand against Emma's wound, trying to stop the bleeding while fighting back tears. Stay with me, baby, I whispered. You're going to be okay. Daddy's here. Sirens began wailing in the distance. Karen finally snapped out of her trance. I didn't mean to, she stammered. She dropped the gun and ran toward her house, slamming the door behind her. The paramedics arrived within minutes. She's stable, one told me. The bullet grazed her thigh and there's a fracture, but no major arteries were hit. We need to get her to the hospital for surgery. Emma reached out her small hand. Daddy, don't leave me, she begged. I'm not going anywhere, sweetheart, I promised, climbing into the ambulance. Daddy's going to be right here. At the hospital, Emma was rushed to surgery while I was treated for my shoulder wound. The surgery took 4 hours. The surgeon finally came out. The surgery went well. The bullet fractured her femur, but we've repaired it. She'll need physical therapy, but should make a full recovery. When I saw Emma in her hospital bed, surrounded by monitors, she looked so small. Daddy, I was scared, she whispered. I know, baby. But you're safe now. Detective Rodriguez told me Karen had locked herself in her house, refusing to come out. She keeps screaming about her authority and rules, the detective said with disgust. We've had complaints before, but nothing like this. Over the next days, neighbors came forward with horror stories about Karen's harassment and threats. The shooting had opened floodgates of complaints that had been suppressed for years. Karen was released on bail after one night in jail, which filled me with rage. Her expensive lawyer argued she was a community pillar who had a momentary lapse. While Emma woke up screaming from nightmares, Karen was sleeping in her own bed. I decided to take matters into my own hands. I reached out to neighbors who had suffered under Karen's tyranny. We conducted our own investigation into her time as HOA president. What we found was worse than expected. She had been breaking every rule she enforced on others, using HOA funds for personal expenses and keeping surveillance files on neighbors. We called an emergency HOA meeting. The community center was packed. One by one, neighbors shared their stories of harassment. When my turn came, I stood up slowly. Karen Mitchell shot my 5-year-old daughter, I said simply. She pulled out a gun and shot a child over a tricycle. The vote to remove Karen was unanimous except for her own vote. The criminal trial came next. Despite her lawyer's attempts to paint her as a dedicated servant, the evidence was overwhelming. The jury took less than 2 hours to find her guilty of aggravated assault, child endangerment, and reckless endangerment. The judge sentenced her to 8 years in prison. The civil trial awarded Emma and our family $2.3 million in damages. Karen was forced to sell her house and declare bankruptcy. The woman who terrorized our neighborhood over property values lost everything. Emma's recovery was slow but steady. Physical therapy helped her walk again, though she'd always have a slight limp. The psychological healing took longer, but with counseling and neighbors' love, she began to smile again. On the first anniversary of the shooting, our neighborhood held a block party. Emma, now 6 and stronger, rode her newly painted pink tricycle up and down the street. The spot where she'd been shot was now a small garden the neighbors planted together. Karen was serving her sentence in state prison. I heard she spent time writing letters, still insisting she was the victim. As I watched Emma laugh and play that evening, her tricycle catching the same golden light, I felt deep peace. Justice had been served through community action and the legal system. Maplewood Lane was ours again, and Emma was free to ride her tricycle wherever she wanted.